She was their quiet child, the reserved, thoughtful girl clinging to her mother's side. But what happened next? No one could have predicted. Princess Charlotte has undergone a transformation that's shocked the palace and left Prince William and Kate emotionally shaken. Was it fame, pressure, structure, or something deeper? Insiders reveal whispers of tension, late-night talks, and a heartbreaking realization that their little girl is changing faster than they ever imagined. Could this be the beginning of a royal rift? Or just the painful truth of watching a daughter grow up too fast? Stay tuned, because this story is far from over. Early signs of shyness. From the very beginning, Princess Charlotte captured hearts not with grand gestures, but with gentle glances. During her earliest public appearances, all eyes were on her, but hers remained fixed on one person, her mother, Kate. Clutching Kate's hand tightly, hiding behind her skirts, Charlotte wasn't seeking the limelight. She was retreating from it. Observers couldn't help but whisper, "She's just like Diana." The same downturned gaze, the same quiet elegance, the same vulnerability. Could it be that the spirit of the people's princess lives on in her granddaughter? At family events, Charlotte often kept to herself, while her elder brother George greeted crowds with polished confidence, and her younger brother Louis charmed cameras with his wild expressions. Charlotte stood still, serene, observant, and different. Was this just ordinary childhood shyness, or something deeper? An inherited sense of grace wrapped in silence? Despite the public's endless curiosity, the royal family didn't rush her. There were no forced smiles, no training wheels for fame. They let her grow at her own pace, protected by the love of her parents and the legacy of a grandmother she never met. But what happens when a shy child starts to find her voice? Let's find out. As whispers of Diana echoed through Charlotte's quiet presence, one thing was certain. She was being raised not just as a royal, but as a child. William and Kate weren't just rewriting protocol. They were reinventing parenting in the palace. And what they did next? It changed everything. The role of hands-on parenting. Behind the palace walls, a quiet revolution was brewing, not in politics, but in parenting. Prince William and Catherine Middleton made a bold decision to raise their children as children, not heirs, not symbols, but real, breathing individuals. Gone were the stiff upper lips of tradition. In came story time cuddles, kitchen messes, and school drop-offs. The world watched in awe as the future king and queen prioritized emotional intelligence over royal rigidity. And at the heart of this change, Princess Charlotte. Kate's background in early childhood development wasn't just a passion, it was a playbook. Her involvement in nationwide campaigns on mental health and parenting shaped their entire approach. Open communication, emotional validation, and self-exploration weren't buzzwords. They were blueprints. Charlotte grew up in a home where feelings mattered, where tears were heard, not hushed, where curiosity was encouraged, not corrected. And slowly, something began to shift. The once shy little girl who clung to her mother, she started peeking out. She started smiling. She started shining. But how do you measure the success of such parenting? Through grades? Through titles? Or maybe through quiet moments of confidence yet to unfold? Hold that thought, because the world was about to witness the birth of a royal star. As Charlotte stepped out from behind her mother's shadow, cameras captured something extraordinary. Confidence. Not the rehearsed kind, but real, radiant self-assurance. It wasn't loud, but it was impossible to ignore. The nation leaned in. Was this the same girl from a few years ago? Oh, how things had changed. Emergence of confidence. She walked out, and she waved. It was Trooping the Color, the quintessential royal event. Flags flew, soldiers marched, crowds roared, but all eyes were on one small figure, Princess Charlotte. Gone was the hesitancy. In its place, a subtle wave, a warm smile, a gleam of comfort in the very spotlight she once avoided. This was a turning point, and the media pounced. "Princess Charlotte steals the show," screamed headlines. But what the headlines missed was the journey, the internal bloom, the quiet battles fought behind closed palace doors, the slow, steady build of courage shaped not by pressure, but by love. Soon, Charlotte began participating more actively in public engagements. She interacted with dignitaries, accepted flowers from adoring fans, and even, on occasion, corrected her brother's public behavior with an assertiveness that left royal watchers stunned. No longer was she simply the daughter of William and Kate. She was becoming something else, a symbol of grace, a rising star, a future force. Was she destined for a leadership role in the monarchy? A modern echo of Princess Anne, perhaps? One thing was clear. Charlotte wasn't just comfortable in the spotlight. She was claiming it. But what, or who, helped her find this voice? The answer may lie not in palace halls, but in family dynamics. Behind every confident stride is a story. And Charlotte's story isn't written alone. It's shaped by laughter, sibling squabbles, and late-night giggles. Her greatest teachers? Her brothers. And in this royal triangle of George, Charlotte, and Louis, roles aren't just played. They're forged. So what happens when a middle child rises between two royal sons? Let's break it down. Influence of sibling dynamics. In the royal lineup, Princess Charlotte stands in the middle. But don't be fooled. This is no ordinary middle child. Between the responsibility-heavy gaze of Prince George and the exuberant antics of Prince Louis, Charlotte has carved out a role all her own, the steady heart of the trio. Observers first noticed it at official events, when Louis got too cheeky, too wriggly, too Louis. Who gently nudged him into line? Charlotte. Who whispered words of calm or offered a quiet glance of authority? Charlotte. She wasn't bossy, she was balanced. And then there's George. While he shoulders the weight of future kingship, Charlotte often acts as his equal, not his shadow. They're dynamic, a dance of respect, a touch of teasing, a bond that radiates trust. Royal insiders say Charlotte brings harmony to the sibling unit. She's not just navigating her place between two brothers, she's thriving in it. The nurturing instinct, the quiet strength, the effortless leadership. It's all there. Some call it maturity beyond her years. Others call it destiny. Because, let's face it, being a royal is one thing. Being the glue of the next generation, that's another level entirely. But how does the world respond when a young royal shows signs of true leadership? You're about to find out. As Charlotte's quiet strength grew, so did the cameras. They captured more than a child. They captured a presence. And the world took notice. Social media exploded. Style blogs buzzed. Headlines followed her every move. But was this admiration or pressure in disguise? The line between praise and expectation was thinning. And Charlotte? She stood at the center of it all. public recognition and media attention. First came the wave, then came the whirlwind. As Princess Charlotte blossomed, the media couldn't look away. Her composure at solemn events, her cheeky glances at joyful ones, her sense of timing, her sense of grace. She wasn't just behaving well. She was performing without pretending. And the public? They fell in love. Paparazzi shots turned into praise pieces. Magazines highlighted her poise. Fashion blogs declared her a mini-style icon, analyzing everything from her coats to her clips. But it wasn't just the clothes. It was the confidence, the presence. At age 6, she was already drawing comparisons to Queen Elizabeth II, calm, observant, and quietly commanding. Yet even as the spotlight brightened, Charlotte remained remarkably grounded. She didn't seek attention, but when it came, she faced it head-on. And that's what made her magnetic. Royal commentators began speaking of her as a potential pillar of the modern monarchy, not as a figurehead, as a force, a bridge between generations, a child born into tradition, yet reflecting the values of a new era. Still, the media is a double-edged sword. Would this attention lift her, or slowly weigh her down? For answers, we look not at the press, but at the people behind the palace doors. In the whirlwind of headlines and hashtags, one truth stood firm. Charlotte was never alone. Behind her calm exterior stood two powerful legacies: William's steadiness and Kate's devotion. But beyond even them, a surprising set of bonds began to shape her. Relationships that weren't always on camera, but were always close to her heart. Let's talk grandparents. Bond with grandparents. Some connections are written in blood, others in moments. Charlotte's bond with her grandparents? Both. Though Princess Diana passed long before Charlotte's birth, her presence lingers in the way Charlotte tilts her head, in her instinct to comfort others, in the quiet resilience beneath her royal surface. William has often spoken of his longing for Diana to meet his children, but many believe she already lives within Charlotte. And then there's King Charles. Sources close to the palace say Charles always wished for a daughter. Now, with Charlotte, he's found a kindred spirit. Their interactions during royal events reveal a quiet tenderness, a glance, a chuckle, a shared appreciation of nature and art. In Charlotte, Charles sees not only his granddaughter, but a reflection of himself, softened by time. And let's not forget Queen Elizabeth II. While the Queen passed during Charlotte's formative years, insiders have often noted that Charlotte inherited the monarch's trademark composure. During the Queen's funeral, Charlotte's behavior drew worldwide admiration. Stoic, respectful, poised, just like Her Majesty. These intergenerational ties provide Charlotte more than just status. They offer identity, anchors, role models she can learn from and emulate. Because within the walls of royalty, emotional legacy is just as powerful as bloodlines. And the deeper Charlotte's bonds grow, the clearer her future path becomes. But where does that path begin? Perhaps at school. Within the palace, Charlotte is royalty. But in the classroom, she's just Charlotte. Or so it seems. As she steps beyond royal walls and into a world of learning, play, and peers, what happens when a princess meets the real world? How does she fit in? And more importantly, how does she stand out? Let's find out. Educational environment. You'd expect a royal education to happen behind gilded gates and ancient tapestries, But Princess Charlotte? Her learning happens in a world much more relatable and refreshingly modern. Enrolled in coeducational institutions, Charlotte has walked the same halls, solved the same math problems, and shared the same playground whispers as countless other children. But even in the most ordinary setting, her extraordinary nature stands out. Teachers describe her as curious, focused, and naturally empathetic. Classmates look to her not just for answers, but for calm in chaos. She isn't loud, but she's a quiet anchor. In group projects, she doesn't dominate, but she leads. Her schooling emphasizes more than academics. There's an intentional focus on teamwork, emotional development, and creativity, values deeply aligned with Kate's own philosophies. And Charlotte? She thrives. Whether she's helping coordinate a class project or lending a reassuring word to a nervous peer, she's showing signs of something remarkable. Earned leadership, not given by title. Earned through trust. And outside the classroom, Charlotte's extracurricular world is just as dynamic. Dance, sports, art, all carefully chosen, not for royal optics, but for personal growth. In every arena, Charlotte is learning not just facts, but how to be human in a world that watches her every move. But even young leaders need outlets. And Charlotte's passions? They may surprise you. Academics and applause can shape a child, but it's passion that ignites the soul. When the palace lights dim and the cameras fade, Charlotte finds her true rhythm. Not in tradition, but in movement, in play, in sheer joy. So what fuels her spirit when no one's watching? The answer takes us into her most personal world yet. Personal interests and hobbies. Beyond the tiaras and etiquette, there's a girl who kicks footballs barefoot and twirls in her bedroom like nobody's watching. Charlotte's love for sports, especially football, didn't come from a lesson plan. It came from her dad. William, a lifelong Aston Villa fan, often joins his children for backyard kickabouts. And guess who holds her own, matching her brother's play for play? Charlotte. But the football field isn't her only stage. There's another world she escapes to, one filled with grace, rhythm, and discipline. Ballet. Kate once revealed that Charlotte adores dancing. It's where she expresses herself most freely, spinning, leaping, smiling, with unfiltered joy. Whether it's a structured ballet class or an impromptu performance in the royal nursery, dance is where she becomes just Charlotte. Not the princess, the person. And that balance, between sport and art, between strength and grace, is no coincidence. It's her essence, one that speaks volumes about the kind of woman she may one day become. Multidimensional, balanced, and unafraid to embrace both fire and flow. Her hobbies aren't royal obligations, they're expressions of freedom, and in every goal scored or pirouette spun, she's building something powerful: identity. But how does a young girl protect that identity when millions are watching? Let's turn to the biggest test yet: the public eye. They watch her wave. They note her outfits. They magnify every blink, every breath. Fame isn't chosen for royals, it's inherited. So how does a young girl hold her own against a tidal wave of scrutiny? The answer lies not in resistance, but in resilience. Because the next chapter isn't about hiding, it's about holding steady. Let's dive in, handling public scrutiny. Spotlights don't ask for permission. And for Princess Charlotte, the cameras have been rolling since the moment she took her first steps. But what's extraordinary isn't that she's been watched, it's how she's handled it. From state funerals to Jubilee balcony moments, Charlotte has demonstrated a level of poise that would humble most adults. Not performative, not robotic, just calm, centered, controlled. Even during emotionally charged events, like Queen Elizabeth II's funeral, Charlotte held herself with a dignity far beyond her years. Her subtle gestures, respectful demeanor, and understanding of protocol stunned viewers worldwide. Was this taught? Partly. But part of it is simply who she is. Unlike some royals before her, Charlotte isn't rebelling against the system. She's navigating it, mastering it, on her own terms. Experts say her ability to remain composed stems from a careful mix of parenting, preparation, and personal resilience. She's been given the tools, and she's using them. But that doesn't mean the pressure disappears. She is still a child with the weight of a dynasty subtly resting on her shoulders. Yet she continues to smile, to wave, to connect. Because, for Charlotte, public life isn't a burden. It's an opportunity to show the world not just what a princess looks like, but what a young leader can become. And that transformation, it hasn't gone unnoticed, especially by two people who've been watching closely since the beginning. They've watched her fall, rise, and bloom. They've held her hand when she was shy and stood back as she found her voice. For William and Kate, Charlotte's evolution has been more than royal. It's been personal. So how do her parents truly feel about the remarkable young woman their daughter is becoming? You're about to find out. Moments that moved her parents. Not every moment is captured by the press. Some moments happen in the stillness of the palace. Out of frame, off script, unforgettable. William and Kate have spent years witnessing Princess Charlotte's evolution, not as monarchs in waiting, but as parents. And every milestone, every shift in her demeanor, has carried weight far beyond the public eye. There was the moment Charlotte confidently curtsied to Queen Elizabeth II during her final Trooping the Color. There was the moment she gently reminded Prince Louis to stand still during a formal procession. And there was the quiet moment, away from cameras, when she spoke to a grieving mourner outside Windsor Castle, her tone calm, her words mature. Insiders reveal that these moments deeply moved William and Kate. Not because Charlotte was being royal, but because she was being herself. Poised, aware, present. These glimpses, as small as they may seem to the world, are seismic to parents. They remind William of his mother's warmth. They remind Kate of every bedtime story and tearful tantrum they soothed. And they echo the result of a decision made long ago to raise their daughter with empathy, not entitlement. And perhaps that's what makes it all so powerful. Charlotte's path wasn't pre-written. It was nurtured, watered with patience, fed with understanding. And now, it's blooming. But as she grows, so does the weight of what lies ahead. What will be her role in a monarchy reinventing itself? Let's take a look. The princess who once clung to her mother now walks with quiet purpose. But this isn't just a story of growth. It's a prologue to responsibility. The crown isn't hers to wear, but the future of the monarchy may still rest in her hands. What role will she play in this ever-shifting royal chessboard? Let's break it down. Future role in the monarchy. She's not the heir, but don't mistake her for a spare. Princess Charlotte occupies a unique and historically powerful position. As the second child of the future king, she stands at the crossroads of duty and flexibility. Unlike George, she won't be burdened with the crown. Unlike Louis, she isn't entirely free of expectation. This middle ground? It's a launch pad. Royal analysts already whisper comparisons to Princess Anne, Queen Elizabeth II's daughter, who carved her own niche as one of the hardest-working royals, independent, focused, unwavering in service. Could Charlotte follow that blueprint? Her upbringing suggests so. She's being taught the responsibilities of her lineage, but with breathing room to evolve. The idea isn't to replicate the past, but to redefine it. With a world increasingly skeptical of monarchies, Charlotte could be exactly what the institution needs: modern, relatable, emotionally intelligent. A princess who leads not with ceremony, but with sincerity. Imagine this: Charlotte spearheading mental health campaigns, standing in for her brother at state functions, connecting with a generation that sees tradition not as a cage, but a compass. Her emotional literacy, media savvy, and people-first instinct position her not as background royalty, but as a vital player in the monarchy's evolution. And as Queen Camilla and Princess Anne age, the palace will need younger women to step forward. Charlotte may be young, but the stage is already being set. And the public? They're ready to follow. From whispered admiration to public adoration, Charlotte has earned more than headlines. She's earned hearts. Her every glance becomes a meme, her every moment a memory shared online. But this isn't empty fandom. It's something deeper. A collective sense that we're witnessing the making of a modern royal icon. So what does the world see in her? Let's take a look. Public's affection and support. They've watched her grow, from curious toddler to confident schoolgirl to poised public figure. And along the way, the world hasn't just noticed Princess Charlotte. They've embraced her. Why? Because she's real. She's not overcoached or under pressure. She's expressive without being excessive, regal without being robotic. The public sees in her a balance they crave in royalty, tradition with a beating heart. Her relatable moments, like sticking her tongue out playfully at photographers or correcting Louis mid-ceremony, spark joy because they feel human. These flashes of authenticity pierce the royal mystique and forge a connection. Social media floods with admiration. Comments range from, "She's so composed," to, "That girl's going to run the show one day." But more than popularity, Charlotte has inspired trust. Supporters believe in her. They sense integrity. They see not just a royal title, but a young girl navigating extraordinary circumstances with grace. And for a monarchy often accused of being out of touch, Charlotte is a refreshing revelation. She is tradition reimagined. She is loyalty mixed with laughter. She is a symbol, not of fairy tale perfection, but of modern resilience. And as the nation watches her next steps, from first speeches to first solo engagements, one sentiment rings clear. This princess is more than prepared. She is becoming unforgettable. Behind palace walls, William and Kate smile for the cameras, but inside, they're grappling with a bittersweet truth. Princess Charlotte's evolution has dazzled the world. But for her parents, it's come at an emotional cost. The shy little girl they once held close is now commanding crowds, standing tall, and stepping into her own destiny. And while pride fills their hearts, so does a quiet ache. Are they losing their daughter to the monarchy's demands? Or witnessing her rise into something greater? One thing's for certain. The future of the royal family just shifted, and Charlotte is no longer in the background.